Hello, third and fourth grade. We are almost to the end of our final week of school, and that's super exciting, everything that you guys have done and how hard you've worked. And so today I want to read with you the next section of our science book, Chapter 5, Part 12, Weather Forecasting. So let's start reading. Today's weather began in some other part of the world several days ago. By tracking the weather and observing the changes which occur as it travels, meteorologists, which is scientists who study the weather, are able to forecast, which means predict, weather a few days ahead. Weather forecasting is a matter of knowing and understanding God's laws of nature about weather. Because weather is changing all the time, we cannot always forecast weather accurately, even when all the facts are available. But when the proper information is available, weather can be forecast with some degree of accuracy. Meteorologists are careful to base their predictions on facts, but no one except God can know exactly how and when the weather will change. So let's read about how weather forecasting is done. Before we read about that, I just want to remind you that meteorologists, they do their best to predict what's going to happen with the weather, but they're not always accurate. There's no way for them to be completely accurate because they are not God. They cannot see into the future. They can observe things around them and make good guesses, but once again, those guesses are just that, they're guesses, because they don't have the ability to see what's going to exactly happen in the future. So let's see how this weather forecasting is done. First, we've got gathering information. First, information must be gathered from weather observation stations over a widespread area. Meteorologists carefully observe and measure the weather conditions of air masses. An air mass is a large body of air which has the same temperature and humidity. So it's got to have the same temperature and it has to have the same amount of humidity, and it's a fairly large amount of air. Most air masses in the United States and in southern Canada move from west to east. So if you think about on a globe, they're moving from the west over towards the east, or from the Pacific Ocean and the Rocky Mountains over towards the Atlantic Ocean and the Appalachian Mountains. So our weather usually is coming from either up in Canada down towards us and over to Michigan, or from Minnesota over towards us and into Michigan, or even from Iowa up towards us and over towards Michigan. But either way, it's moving from west to east, or as when we look on a map, left to right. There are weather observation stations all over the world recording weather information all the time. Each hour, meteorologists measure those conditions. They measure temperature, air pressure, humidity, precipitation, and wind speed. Some weather stations send balloons into the upper atmosphere twice a day to measure the weather conditions. After the information is automatically radioed back to the observation station, the balloon rises higher into the atmosphere and pops. The equipment on board the balloon parachutes back to Earth. Airplane pilots also report weather by radio, and ships at sea send weather reports regularly. Weather satellites orbiting from 100 to 800 miles above the Earth have television cameras which take pictures of cloud patterns and weather fronts. These pictures are especially helpful in tracking severe storms which begin over the sea. All of these methods, balloons, ships, planes, and satellites, are used by meteorologists to make accurate observations of the conditions of the air. And sometimes if you've ever watched the weather, you'll see some of those pictures that are taken from the different forms. Often you'll see ones that are taken by satellite of those severe storms. A vast amount of weather information is collected each day. Countries around the world exchange the information they have collected. Let's turn the page. Predicting the weather. After weather observations are gathered from many places, meteorologists think carefully about the information. So first they have to gather the information. Then once it's been gathered, now they have to think carefully about it. They use computers to process the information. Using computers saves time in putting all the information together. The information is used to make weather maps, which forecast the results of many observations. Weather forecasts are made by comparing the information that has been gathered that day with information on past weather. For example, if it rains 6 out of 10 days with similar weather conditions, meteorologists will predict there is a 60% chance of rain. This prediction is a sensible guess. Computers which keep records of the weather for many years are a great help to meteorologists. When meteorologists have all the information about past weather, they're able to make more accurate forecasts. Or if you've ever heard the meteorologists say that the temperature is lower than normal or higher than normal, what they mean by normal is looking at the past several years, the temperature around this time, and comparing what today's temperature is to what it's been for the past 5 or 10 years. And they're able to get an accurate picture of what normal has been lately. There are several kinds of forecasts depending on the information available. Short-range forecasts predict the weather only 18 to 36 hours in advance. So that's a day to a day and a half ahead of schedule. Short-range forecasts are usually quite reliable because they are based on current information. Meteorologists continually update short-range forecasts. Long-range or extended forecasts predict the weather 5 days to a month ahead. Information given in the forecast is based on current weather observations, averages based on normal patterns of weather. Extended forecasts are not as detailed nor as accurate as short-range forecasts. So the weatherman on the TV might say that it's supposed to rain today and tomorrow, and that it's supposed to be sunny the rest of the week. His forecast for today and tomorrow is going to be pretty accurate based off of all the information that he's gathered. For the rest of the week, it's slightly accurate, but it could have some changes to it because of how far ahead that weather is. And so when meteorologists make predictions for today or tomorrow, those are usually pretty accurate. But when they're making predictions for what's going to happen next week or a month from now, those are good guesses, but they are highly likely that they could end up changing because a lot could happen between today and next week or between today and next month. One of the most important things done by the National Weather Service is to track severe storms such as hurricanes or tornadoes or even thunderstorms are often tracked through the National Weather Service. The meteorologists check with other stations, ships at sea, satellite readings, and radar. They try to pinpoint a storm and determine where it is heading. If a hurricane approaches an area, people living there may be given warning to fasten down things easily moved by strong winds, or to leave their homes and seek shelter in a safe place. Advance warnings of severe storms have saved many lives. And they also will do this with snowstorms as well. They'll try to predict how many inches of snow they might get and how bad the wind conditions and the temperature conditions are going to be. And that those predictions can often help save many people's lives.